I'm Justin Sutherland, and I'm on a mission to tell untold BIPOC stories in the food community. One of the most important aspects of our food story today is that of sustainable agriculture. And one of the most underrepresented storylines is that of the black farmers who make it happen. Today, I'm gonna hang out with Warren and Keisha, a black farming family that is not only reclaiming their history through their work, but empowering their community through education. This is Taste the Culture.
I can go back and learn that this is part of our birthright, this is our heritage, and that, yes, it was extracted, we were used for our expertise.
Forced.
Yeah, because we were agrarian people before we got here.
Right.
I mean, you don't... It's like, not that word. No, not that word
give it to me, I want that word.
You don't kidnap a people that doesn't know what they're doing.
Agriculture in the United States was built on slavery, and there's no way around it. Because of that history, black agrarianism today remains a touchy subject in the US, particularly in the South. Even now, certain facets of farming, especially around fiber production, still evoke feelings of white guilt and black pain. It's for that reason that I've come to see Keisha and Warren Cameron at High Hog Farm. The Camerons are working to reclaim their history and redefine what it means to be a black farmer in America. High Hog is located about an hour outside of Atlanta. Not only is it a working farm, but it's a teaching farm. So I'm getting here early to start my education. All right, so this is a kind of morning routine here on the farm?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Come on in.
You stay here.
Which one is this now?
This is Marshall.
This Marshall.
And
Hi,
this
Marshall.
is Deacon.
Hi, Deacon.
And they're brothers.
We've got meat birds over here.
Okay. Meat birds, that mean dinner birds?
Those
Yes.
are for dinner, yes.
Yeah, have you ever processed a chicken?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I said if you got one ready, I'm happy to.
Well, we'll go see what we got in the back.
Maybe if one of them misbehaves
If one of them
today.
misbehaves, just send them over here. That difference between gardening, kind of homesteading, and farming, and like what makes you farmers now? Like what is it about what you're doing on this land that you can give yourself that title of farmer and not just it being a hobby?
People have a concept when they show up of what a farm is.
Right.
So folks who visit here, either the reaction is, this isn't a farm.
Yeah.
Or, oh my gosh, this is the hugest farm I've ever seen. So it's really about redefining what it means to produce food for yourself and for others. And if you can do that and make a living, then you get to loosely call yourself farmer. But I don't think farms are all supposed to look the same.
So I'm just using this to coax them to follow us.
Okay.
Actually, you can coax them to follow us.
Absolutely. Yes, yes. Yes, come with me, my sheep.
So yeah, just toss it up right in the spot. They'll even eat out of your hand. Pearl's the one.
Pearl does not mind asserting herself.
So, whoa, Pearl, share.
And then I'll let Hercules out.
Come on, Hercules. Wow. He was ready.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what he does all the time. I don't want to go anywhere.
You can't drag me out if I fall down.
If I just lay on the ground.
It's so annoying.
My gosh.
Once we let the sheep and the horses out, next we do is the chickens, because sometimes animals, like in the case of our dogs, will try to eat
Each other's food.
their food. With the sheep, I want to make sure they stay consistent with their diet.
Do you raise the sheep primarily for the wool? Is that?
Yes.
Yep.
We have heritage breed sheep, so they're considered dual purpose. Fiber is kind of the focus with them, but it's nice because you have a carcass size that's decent enough to put in the freezer.
How many roosters do you have?
Too many.
Too many.
Yeah, because I hatch. I was set in the incubator and was like, this is so much fun. And then about 2 months later, I was like, where did all these chickens go?
I think when people come to our farm, they see something different. And to be honest with you, I'm not sure what they see. But there's something there that they see that they want to know more about it. They want to learn. Like, you know, we'll have parents that come with their children and they say, hey, Jimmy, Timmy, ask them what that is.
Because they want to know.
They want to know. You know, because as grown adults, there are certain things that we should know. Sure, you ready for this to be mauled by the chickens?
Bring them on.
They're gonna run out thinking the food's already down.
Yep.
Yeah, sprinkle it right in front of you.
Sprinkle some right on the ground right there.
That's a turkey.
That is a turkey.
Yes,
it's not a large chicken. It's a turkey.
That is a turkey.
One of the things that I really think is important is preserving certain genetics and
100%.
certain breeds that are critically endangered, or the birds that you get at the store generally are 1 or 2 types of breeds that have been
Manipulated, force-fed, grow fast.
Thank you.
They don't, we don't have to sugarcoat it. Those are barely chickens.
We had ginger, turmeric, hibiscus, garlic, strawberries, onions, things like that that you can put in the ground. And yeah, it's been a challenge. The boys have left. You don't realize empty nesting is a process. So we went from 5.5 of us to 2 of us.
And you had to,
you're like, what do we actually need versus what do we want?
So is you pretty self-sustained then?
We're getting there.
Yeah, it's about 50-50. I mean, every now and then I still want some wings.
Where did your passion, for fibers come from? I mean, you fell in love with the sheep, you're spinning wool, you're building a fiber forest.
Yes, that is correct. I coined that.
If there's one thing that epitomizes Warren and Keisha's mission, it's Keisha's fiber forest. It contains herbs, medicines, and useful shrubs like indigo. Many black farmers shy away from fiber production because of its ties to slavery. But Keisha and Warren are owning it and using it as an educational tool to foster difficult conversations.
Now, that plot in between the 2 fruit trees was left, hence the reason it looks like that. And then there's madder root. And madder root gives one of the earliest known reds in history.
Really?
Yeah. It wasn't as much me leading to fiber as whatever that thing is ancestrally, whatever that thing is deep from before, it's found me, and I'm now just showing up and doing my best to.
Do you think that because of the, the slavery connotations and the history behind, our people and fibers, we've kind of shied away from it, and you're kind of bringing it back full circle?
Well, there's definitely interest, especially with indigo. There's this interest.
Right.
Natural dyes are hot, and then indigo, and then the history. But I do think that there's something to be said when we have these conversations about agriculture, and specifically Black agrarianism, that if you're not looking at the full hierarchy of needs, there's more than 3, but food, clothing, shelter. If you're just focusing on food, then how can you be sustainable as a people, as a community? And then the last one is indigo, which I'm gonna harvest some, and if you'd like to help me.
I would love to.
Indigo in general is one of the only plants that produces indigofera, which is the chemical that produces blue in nature.
Okay.
The blues that you see in blueberries or other blue plants are usually a result of anthocyanins, and they're fugitive. They don't stay connected, or they don't stay on the fabric.
Right. I mean, they're more like almost like a water-based.
Yeah, it's like a stain.
It's like a stain that you can wash out.
With most farms and people who homestead, you find what fits. For me, the sheep really just spoke to me, but then I began to look for myself. Where were, Black people who did this work? And quiet as it's kept, the elephant in the room in all these conversations around urban farming and food security and food sovereignty and all these beautiful people doing this work on the land, fiber, cotton was the thing that was never talked about.
So as you guys re-immersed yourselves back into this world, did you ever have any personal, thoughts of, should I be doing this? And what were the reactions from your peers?
There was a couple of moments where, I would tell people that, I wanted to farm. We were going to get goats, or we were going to do certain things. And I would be like, oh, you want to be a sharecropper? You kind of got those little side jabs. But those are the same people who always make it clear that if the shit hits the fan,
they know where they're coming.
They're coming here. when that thing actually goes down, they're coming here. So it's said lovingly, but as more awareness is kind of coming up, people are being a little bit more receptive. It's not a negative connotation. I think the only time I ever questioned, and this was before I realized and did research to find I couldn't grow cotton. You have to have a license, an ornamental cotton license to grow it?
I think that we should be able to grow as much cotton as we want
Well,
forever. And
the
we should get a
cotton
freaking
industry
kickback from Hanes.
with the boll weevil.
I should never paper socks in my life.
They don't seem to agree with that. But I remember thinking in my dream, I had this vision for the farm, and I was like, I could grow cotton, and I started doing some research, and I remember thinking to myself, how comfortable would I be picking cotton if it was planted out front? That was a pause. That was the only time I was like,
just from that outside, I mean,
how
you
was
could
that
imagine, the white
perception?
family driving down the road, just like
out in the front pasture.
Right.
Look at it, just like it said in the encyclopedia.
I knew it.
Yeah.
Well, you know, that's kind of weird though, because even if you drive maybe an hour east from us, there's cotton fields out there. So I'm like, well, who's...
Those are commercial cotton farmers. They're not ornamental cotton farmers.
I mean, if we were commercial cotton farmers, would it be a difference?
Yeah.
Would it be received differently from the community, though? I think that's...
Amongst some, and then others, there's still tension. There's even, I run a fiber group, and I would say it's about 50-50 split with people who spin cotton, because I do spin it. You can purchase it, and I'll spin cotton. And there's some people who are like, I'll never
touch it.
I'll never touch it. And then there's other people who are like, I take great pride in not only spinning it, but producing it, and that because it's my heritage. It's the thing that was extracted from me. I always try to point people back that our agrarian history did not start here. It takes about 3 days for them to ferment, and then you've got
That's incredible.
some here. So
I
if you
might just stay here for 3 days, and I don't got anything to do.
Yeah.
It's like we had a lot of work to do, and you lost some kids, so if you need me to stay.
Oh my gosh, you're adopted.
Keisha knows a lot because she immersed herself in what she wanted to learn. I'm just catching up with her. And when I'm when I'm starting to understand her ideas on what she wants to do, I'm like, oh, now I get it.
I found myself reconnecting, and without sounding completely woo-woo or crazy, it was a spiritual calling.
Listening to you talk out there was spiritual. I mean, just the connection, I'm serious. I mean, the connection, the knowledge of the plants and the medicine. And just, I mean, literally just like feel you and your family in all of this space. So it 100% is spiritual. I wouldn't shy away from that at all.
You have no idea how much I appreciate that. I live with 4 guys that are like, is there any way you could just answer the question without giving me the history of the thing? I'm like, well, originally in the Middle English,
I don't
they're
need
like,
all that. I just need the answer.
Do you want me to pick it or no? If there's more small farms that can then begin to step up and provide things that are hyper-local and that are accessible, then it alleviates some of the burden that we're seeing on the planet.
And I think even just the education that we get on this farm, you can take it beyond the farm.
So tell me more about that, because I mean, I know that's a big part of what you guys do with your community outreach. I mean, this is a learning farm. I mean, I feel like I just went to school today, and I want to sign up for next semester. But tell me about why you feel that's important to share your knowledge and your space with the community, and what that does for you.
Well, I think everybody needs to know, obviously, where their food comes from, and now, based on what we do, where their clothes come from.
Right.
But I think for me, though, ultimately, it's because we raised a family on the farm, our boys have been able to see a lot of different things. So when we have people coming on here, our boys will sometimes think that, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. But when somebody comes and talks to them and asks them a question about the thing that they take care of, you can see all of a sudden they light up.
They light up, because there's pride. They own that. There's pride in that.
For me, that is seeing, yes, what we're doing is actually working. So if we can do it with our family, other people can learn too.
What we do, I do with the full awareness and reverence for the elders and for the ancestors that have already kind of paved the way. And we're resilient in the face of so many trials, but there are other people like me that come to it, maybe not with that level of expertise, but can make an introduction. Say, you know what, here's that thing that you didn't know was missing, but you could kind of feel was missing. There's this way of life. And I'm hoping that through this, those who will come and experience it will take it and do even better than what we're able to do. My goal is never to be the expert, but it's more facilitating that opportunity for people to learn.
It's impossible to talk about American agriculture today without going back to slavery, the original farmers. As Keisha says, We were agrarian people before we got here, and our forced relocation was no accident. That being said, farming is an integral part of our history. And for Keisha and Warren, the most powerful way to reclaim that history is through education.
When you start farming, you start to slow down, you start to think more, and you start to see more.
It's probably the hardest thing I've ever done, but it is by far the most rewarding, and the community that we've built around doing this work is just, I will die rich, even if I don't make it another dime.
The education that I've received today is invaluable, and I cannot wait to come back for another lesson.